So glad to have you this morning, Market Street Church of Christ, Sunday morning. I know we still will have several that'll be coming in, trickling in as always throughout the morning. We do have all of our adult classes here in the auditorium for a special presentation. All right. Looking for our speaker. There he is. All right. Once again, very good morning to have you here with us at Market Street Church of Christ this Sunday morning for our Bible class hour. We do have a special guest speaker with us today who will be speaking this morning for a presentation as well as preaching during our worship. We have with us Chris Carter from the Central Florida area, from the Lake Butler Church of Christ, and is here with us with the Florida Prison Ministry, Church of Christ Prison Ministry. He is the reason, really, that I got into prison ministry, is that some of his contacts that he has that are down in Fort Walton Beach called up and said, hey, we've got a brother in Christ over in Santa Rosa Correctional Facility. Do you have a prison ministry, somebody who can go visit him and encourage him? And immediately I was hit by Matthew 25, when Jesus' words that whenever I was in prison, you came to visit me. And I felt that call and said, we should have one, and I'll do it. Send me. And so that's how I got involved in prison ministry. Chris has been instrumental in helping me understand a lot more about it. But he is here this morning to tell us a little bit about what he's doing and the involvement that he has in this prison ministry. And I think you'll be very interested in what he has to say. Brother Chris, come speak to us.
Thank you, Brother Troy. Okay. All right. So, as Brother Troy said, my name is Christopher Carter, and I'm with the Lake Butler congregation in Lake Butler, Florida. And do we have a clicker? Oh, okay. All right. And I'm part of the Florida Prison Ministry, or the Church of Christ Florida Prison Ministry. And Florida is our mission field. And in this mission field, we have the potential to reach thousands. And we know that because statistics tell us that there's approximately 82,000 people incarcerated in the state of Florida. And what that simply means is that as a church, we have work to do. Now, because of this, we minister all across the state. And as you can see, the state is categorized in 4 different regions. We're in Region 1. I am largely in Region 2, but I'm in Region 1 just a little bit. Region 3 is just south of Region 2, and I'm in that region as well, just a little bit. And then, of course, Region 4 is South Florida. But what I'd like to do now is talk with you about some of the people who this ministry impacts, because that's what it's all about, is reaching people and changing lives through the power of the gospel. So this gentleman is AJ, and AJ was a bank robber. AJ is also a Calvinist, and Calvinism is rampant in the prison system. Amen. For those of you who may not be familiar, in a nutshell, basically the thought of Calvinism is God has chosen this side for heaven and this side for hell, and there's nothing you can do about it. When he decides to put his spirit on you, you will obey, and if you never do, well then you were never part of the elect. It's a very damning doctrine. It's a very poisonous doctrine. It's a very prideful doctrine, and it really takes away responsibility from an individual. AJ and I do not agree on Bible doctrine. However, I continually show this man the love of Christ and continually counsel with him, and slowly but surely I am nudging at some of his beliefs. So he thought that we didn't have a choice. Well, now he's coming to see that we do have a choice. So I am making some progress with him. But in the church, we can have all of the teaching and doctrine down to a T, but if we fail to show the love of Christ, then we may very well give an opportunity to the devil. So even though he and I do not agree, I continue to show him that love. This is Bruce. Now, Bruce looks like somebody you want at your Christmas table, right? Unfortunately, this is what the effects of methamphetamine will do to a person. But Bruce is a real humble individual. He was also a challenge for me because what I like to do in prison is open the Bible up and let people see it for themselves. But what do you do when someone has the reading level of a second grader? Then you have to help them, and they have to really trust you. So it was a challenge for me, but Bruce and I studied, and I'm happy to say that Bruce is someone who has obeyed the gospel. This is Tyrone Taylor. Tyrone Taylor is one of the most positive people who I've ever met. Tyrone was playing a dice game in Jacksonville, and he's from the hood. And he lost his money, and he asked his homeboy to go rob the person and get his money back, and then they would split it. Well, the person who he asked actually ended up killing the other person, and the police came to Tyrone, and they said, "We just want you to tell the truth. Tell the truth of what happened. You didn't ask him to kill him, you asked him to rob him." Well, being from the hood, there's a code. You don't talk with the police. So, unfortunately, they charged Tyrone with the exact same crime, and he now has a life sentence. He's 31, 32 years old. He's been incarcerated for 10 years, but he has denounced his gang ties. He has studied with us. He has obeyed the gospel, and he is a disciple maker. So one of the things for the men in prison who have life sentences is they need purpose too. And they have purpose. We all have purpose in Christ. But we help these men see that in Christ, they can help bring others to Christ. And that's exactly what Tyrone does, and we're extremely grateful for him. Now, this is Joshua Bauer. Joshua Bauer's had a hard life. He was addicted to crack. He was a petty theft. He would rob small businesses. And then at one point, he shot a person in the stomach, and he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. While he was incarcerated, some other inmates tried to assault him, take advantage of him, and he ended up stabbing another inmate. He is now scheduled to be released in 2052. And he is an intelligent man, and he's had a lot of bitterness in him. Also indoctrinated with Calvinism. And I met him at Reception and Medical Center, which is one of 4 facilities that men intake when they come into the prison system. And he and I could not agree on doctrine, but I continued to show him the love. Then he was transferred down to Avon Park, so I went down to see him. He had been involved in gang activity. He had a broken nose, two black eyes. He was literally defeated. And then I received, and while I was down there, even with these men who we don't agree on doctrine, I constantly whisper something with gracefulness. But one of the things that I did for this man was give him the Apologetics Press, Defending in the Faith study Bible. So he had that. But then he was accused of trying to incite a riot to escape. So they shipped him to the Florida State Prison, which is where he now is, and he's in Closed Management 1, which pretty much means he's locked down in a room by himself for 24 hours a day. It's probably the worst condition that anyone in the prison system can be in. But he wrote me a letter. And in this 10-page letter, at the very end of it, he says, the only thing they would let me have here is that Bible that you gave me. And he said, I took the time to go through the orientation of it, to see how to navigate it and look at the study notes. And he says, I want you to know that I now believe that we have a choice and that I need to be baptized for the remission of my sins. And when I heard this, it immediately brought a tear to my eye and kind of makes me choke up now because this Calvinistic doctrine, it's really hard to get past. And I was just so overjoyed with happiness to hear this from this man. So I go see him now every other week at the Florida State Prison. I counsel him one-on-one. And even though he's in the worst situation ever, he has a light on his face, and he says he's in the best situation he's ever been in. And we're trying to make it possible for him to obey the gospel, but it is a challenge because of his situation. And I told him, you know, if you truly believe this is what you need to do and you're seeking the truth, we know that God's going to make a way for that to happen. So we see it with Philip and the eunuch, we see it with Cornelius. So, you know, keep studying, keep praying, and we'll let God make the way. So I'm extremely grateful to share that information with you about Joshua. And in prison, we see a wide range of men and different characters and personalities. In this past year, there's 50 men listed up here right now. And these are men who we've counseled and studied with. And these men are actually some who have obeyed the gospel. And I say some because I ran out of room up there. And you can see the last date was September the 12th. But as of today, we've helped 75 men obey the gospel. So we're extremely grateful for these men and their decision to walk in a different way of life. Number 30 up there is Glenn Alston. And Glenn says, I just wanted to thank you for coming to my baptism and also for the Bible. I very much appreciate it. Have a blessed day, and I will talk with you soon. The Bible that he's holding is the Apologetics Press Study Bible. And one of the things that I do is try to make sure I can give one of these to each man who I see has a desire to study. Now, not every man who asks me for one, because some men in there, they just covet things and they want it because it's a nice, shiny Bible and big, and you don't know what they're going to do with it. But for those men who actually come and want to study, I always try to make sure I can give them one. This man's story is kind of unique too. He's at Putnam Correctional, which is in Region 2, and I didn't actually baptize him. The chaplain had another inmate doing the immersion. And I noticed that the inmate was cradling men in his arm, and he was not taking them fully down. The chaplain allowed me to come up there and stand at the front when it was Glenn's turn, and I saw that, so I said, well, let's push him all the way down. And I tried to get him down, but I still wasn't confident that he was all the way down. And this is something that really struck a nerve with me, but I didn't want to say anything to Glenn. I didn't want to upset him because it was out of his control and there was nothing we could do. So I made a note to make sure to get with him when he is released from prison. But he was transferred to Lottie CI. And the church has a good presence in Lottie CI. And as soon as I found out he was there, I went to him. I said, hey, this is what happened. We have an opportunity. Let's correct this. Let's make sure. So that's what we did. And then a week later, he was transferred right back to Putnam. So talk about God making a way. Now, as I mentioned before, we minister across the state, and we do this through a variety of ways. As you can see here, I have a blue circle, which is largely the area that I travel. But I also have an orange circle where we are now. And I have an orange circle south of the blue circle and another one south of that orange circle. And these are the areas where I have a personal connection with members of the church. So I am so thankful for this congregation and for Brother Troy, because he and I bounce men back and forth as they transfer back and forth. We sharpen each other up. We work together well. And I'm just so thankful for his efforts and for those in this congregation who support him to do that, for those who help volunteer, because this is a great work and it takes all of us working together to accomplish what we need to accomplish. Now, that being said, if you look in between the blue and the orange in the panhandle, there is an area there that's not as well covered. And there are many, many, many prisons in that area. So if you know anyone in the church in that area, please let Troy know or let me know so we can get some volunteers working in that area. Now in this blue circle, you see I have just a little bit of Region 1 and a little bit of Region 3. And these are the actual places where I physically go into prison. And we do a lot of things in these areas. We do self-improvement programs. We offer a wide range of services. The biggest thing that I believe is the Christian counsel and mentoring. It's getting with an inmate one-on-one and just getting to know him, studying with him, asking him how he's doing. See, it's important to go in and build a relationship with the man, to find some sort of relatability. Even if you don't know exactly what they're going through, you have the relatability in the sense of you are where they want to be, and they look up to you. And it's very important that we counsel these men and mentor these men. We have a lot of requests that come from not only these men themselves, but family members. That's actually how Troy and I got to know each other. There was a member at the Martin congregation in Tennessee, Martin, Tennessee congregation. And she reached out to me and said, I have a cousin who is locked away in Florida. Can you reach him? So I looked up her cousin and I saw, well, he's way over here. I would go here if I couldn't find anybody. It would be maybe once every 6 months or a year, but fortunately, I was connected with Troy, and Troy met this person. His name is Paul, and from that, everything that's going on here now has came about. So friends and family members from all across contact us. We've had an individual in Colorado contact us, or other places. Can you minister to our loved ones? And the way that we do this is we have the ability to reach out to any inmate in the state of Florida through electronic means. So the ministry reaches out to the inmate and says, hey, there's people out here thinking about you, praying for you. We have some ministers who would love to come in and see you and talk with you. How are you doing? Are you okay? Would you like for one of us to come in and talk with you? And most of the time they say yes. And then we advise them, well, you need to put in a request with your chaplain's office for whoever the minister may be to come in and do a spiritual advisor visit. So that's kind of how that works. But then, when you make that initial contact, well, then this guy goes back and tells another guy. And then that guy tells the guy, and things just grow from there. So that's kind of how that works. The Defending the Faith Study Bible, correspondence courses, those are things that we offer. In 6 of the different prisons that we go in, we have Sunday Bible class and worship opportunities, baptism opportunities. We have some programs designed for self-improvement. However, I use most of that as a way just to bridge a person to Christ. So Satan doesn't care if we succeed in the world. Satan doesn't care if we obey the laws and do all the things that we're supposed to do. What he cares is that we're outside of Christ. So, yes, we want men to grow and develop and not break laws, but if they're focused on Christ, these other things are going to take place. So I kind of use the classes and the programs to kind of like a bait, if you will. For those men who show us that they want to dig deeper and they're committed, we offer a Bachelor of Biblical Studies through Nations University. This university does teach correct doctrine, so we partner with them. We have about 40 students who are involved with that now. This is a work that my predecessor has completely owned. However, he has started to transition that work to my lovely wife, Sandra. She is very active in the prison ministry, doing what she can do, and she's going to be the new proctor to take over this work from Nations University. So we're very fortunate to have her to do that because it is a good program that we do not want to stop. And my problem is, if you looked at all those prisons, is I have zero bandwidth left. I have zero availability. So we're thankful for her and for my predecessor, Gary Wider, as well. End of sentence church home placement. Very important. Not only do we want to convert these men, we want them to live a faithful Christian life. And in order to do that, they need a congregation, they need continual support, they need edification, encouragement, and comfort, just like all of us. They need instruction, and they need a congregation that will open its doors and accept them. And this can be a challenging situation, but for those men who are committed and show us they are committed, we help them find a church home. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but some of the self-improvement programs that we offer include Authentic Manhood, how to be the Christian man that God has called us to be, Christians Against Substance Abuse. That is a 12-step program, much like AA or NA, except there's no doubt about it, Jesus Christ is our higher power, and we associate Scripture with the 12 steps. Anger management, there's a lot of anger in prisons. For a large part, there is no air conditioner in the Florida prisons, which blows my mind because I am spoiled on air conditioner, and I can't imagine what that's like. It just seems like it breeds anger. So we have a class to help men deal with that. Sexual idolatry, there's a lot of sexual offenders in prison. There's a lot of sexual things going on in prison. Homosexuality, masturbation, things that men struggle with, porn addictions, things that they need help with. So we have a class designed for that. And Forgiven, and Free, that's a Dan Winkler class. I'm sure some of you are familiar with Dan. But people have problems forgiving others and forgiving themselves. And of course, that's essential if we want to have the forgiveness of Christ. So we have a class designed for that. Now, being in prison and being told what to do, when to do, how to do it, with no air conditioner, it's a high-stress environment. So we also have some stress relief programs to help deal with this. On Tuesday nights at Reception and Medical, we open the chapel up for the whole compound. Come on in, we're going to have some comedy, some good, clean Christian comedy or Christian-based comedy, such as Tim Hawkins, or we might do some skits or something of that nature. Or we might have an inspirational night where we watch The Passion of Christ, or a lot of people like The Chosen and things like that. These men want to come in because it gives them some relief of all the things going around in the compound. It gives them some relief. It gives them some air conditioner. And I fully believe if they can relieve some of that stress, then they might be able to go the rest of the week without killing somebody till we can see them again. But also, what they're exposed to is things that they might not otherwise be exposed to. So singing and prayer, okay? They might not get any of that. But if they come to participate in this, they will. So those are some good programs that we have in place. Now, I mentioned to you that we minister across the state, and we do so through a physical presence, a video presence, and electronic message as well. So if you look on this chart, you'll see one that says Taylor CI. That's Paul. That's the man who connected Troy and I. And I've told you about his story, but each and every man up here has a story. If you look at the bottom where it says Naples Jail Center, well, this is a young man who he was involved in a fatality with Rex on I-75 going south, and he was 17 years old, and another youth was killed, and a member of the Sarasota congregation reached out to us and said, hey, this is one of my former students. I'm a 6th grade teacher. Can you minister to him? So we reached out to Gavin, and we've been ministering to him. This slide is a few months dated, so Gavin's actually went from the jail center to he's now in prison, but we continue to minister to him. And you can see there's other situations up here where we're ministering to men in county jails. In the Alachua County Jail, the EPA was at Sandra at our house, and they were checking our water, and this representative of the EPA just started talking to me, asking me what I do. I said, well, I'm an evangelist. I'm a prison evangelist. I like to go in prison and encourage men and help them see a better way. And she said, oh, well, I got a friend who's in jail. I wonder if you could do anything with him. Absolutely. So now we're ministering to this man through video means. Same thing is true for the one below that, Marion County Jail. We had some people out at our house doing work. Many of them were convicted felons. The owner of the company, her son was in jail. That was her son. And she asked me the same thing. I have a son. Can you help him in any way? So we reached out and started doing video visits and ministering to him as well. The work of an evangelist is kind of like a doctor. There's really no cutoff. You're just constantly available to those who need you. So that's just some of the situations with men across the state. This is how we minister to them, even if we can't physically get to them. So what I want to do with you now is talk about life beyond prison. So those are some of the things that we have going on in prison, some of the people that we talk with and minister to, some of the different programs that we offer, and the ways that we execute our ministry. But let's talk about life beyond prison, because that's important. We partner with a few different transition houses, but there's one particular that we esteem highly because it's operated by a member of the Lord's church. And his name is Daryl Townsend, and he runs Off the Chain Ministries. And this transition house is one where men go to grow and mature and develop themselves spiritually. It's not a place just for someone to go who's looking for the next part of their life, getting a job and having a cell phone and all those things. Those things happen as a byproduct of just seeking God. So I'm a firm believer in Hebrews 11:6, without faith it is impossible to please God, and we must believe He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. So seeking God and being right with Him is number one, and when you do that, everything else seems to work out. So this transition house is one that we try to steer men to. Not all of them accept it, but some do. This gentleman right here is one who decided he didn't want to go to the transition house. He wanted to take part in the work release program. For those who are a lower custody level in prison, they're allowed an opportunity to go to a work release program 18 to 16 months out, where they go into a different facility and they're allowed to go out into the community and work. It's very appealing because they want to get ahead and start making money and all those things. One of the prerequisites, or one of the conditions of going to our transition house, is that you have to give this up, because we want that time to continue to work with you and study with you, because we want to make sure that you're going to be a good fit for the transition house. So AJ's a good guy. He stays in his word. He just decided not to take advantage of that opportunity, which is okay. We're still there for him. I talk with him on a regular basis. I make myself available for any prisoner who leaves the prison system, whether they're in the church or out of the church, because I fully believe that continual showing love is something that never ends, and you never know when something might take. But we have connected AJ with the High Springs congregation, and they have accepted him, so we're in the process now of trying to get permission to come pick him up and bring him to church services. This is Nathan. Nathan is another man who we tried to direct toward the transition house, but he did not want to fully submit to all of the rules. He did not want his cell phone to be looked at, and he didn't want to be tracked where he goes. And I mean, I get that. A lot of us are maybe like that as well. So he decided he wanted to be homeless, and he went to Orlando and was living in the airport, taking a shower in a fitness center. And he's doing that for a few weeks. And I contacted him and went down to Orlando, and we had lunch at Wendy's. And I asked him, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I don't know." And I said, "Well, where are you going to assemble? Where are you going to church?" He says, "Nowhere. I don't know where to go." So I looked on my phone and said, "Look, here's one 7 minutes away. Make sure you're there on Sunday. You have no reason not to be there." And Nathan's a smart guy. He knows his Bible. He's really good with that. He's obeyed the gospel. And he went to sleep on their doorstep that Saturday night. And now he is a faithful member at the Concord Street congregation in Orlando. They love him and he loves them, and he also has a full scholarship for the Full Sail University in that area, which is a university that specializes in recording music. So he's really big into that. Now, he's struggled some since he's been out. He's had some relapses, and that happens. It's not something that we say, well, oh, that's okay, but we have to continually encourage him and try to see where things went wrong and bridge that. So I am real thankful for Nathan. He was actually one of our speakers at our prison ministry benefit dinner back in September. And that's us there at Concord Street. This is Pawn. Pawn is someone who is a gentle soul, someone who did accept the invitation to the transition house. He was released back in July. Going to this transition house, you're guaranteed 6 months. If you're not putting in effort and you're not trying to get involved with the church and you're isolating yourself, we're going to continually try to guide you and get you back on track and counsel you. If you take to that, you're still going to be welcome. But if you keep denying it and denying it and denying it and denying it, well, we need that bed space for someone who's actually wanting to invest into growing spiritually. That's what it's all about. So I'm saddened because Pawn, he's not been acceptive of that. He's not doing anything wrong. He's not out drinking and drugging and doing these things, but he's not investing into people. He's not investing into growing spiritually and maturing. So he's been asked to leave at the end of his time, which is January 20th. But I would ask that you keep Pawn in prayer. Like I said, he's a good guy. He just needs some more counsel and guidance, and he needs to be receptive of it. That's the thing. We can take a horse to the water, but we can't make him drink. Now, this is Robert. Robert was just released a couple months ago, and he is a great guy. He is someone who's at the transition house who is trying to grow spiritually in the Word. You can see he looks kind of scary, but if you look in this picture in the back, you see he looks kind of different. Got a nice clean look about him. He's still dealing with the face tattoos. However, someone has offered to remove those for free if he will just be their poster child. So he's already in process of that and already had some of those treatments. This is Arnell. Arnell was in prison for 10 years, 11 years. He's also a member of the transition house. He is a great individual, someone who's constantly trying to help others and grow and learn, and we're so thankful for Arnell. And these men who go to the transition house, they are a member of the Middleburg Church of Christ. Oh, there's the clock right there. I keep looking at mine. I'm like, where's the clock in here? Okay, 9:45 is the cutoff? Okay, so we got to hurry up. This is Sean. He's another member at the transition house. But instead of me continuing to talk, I want you to hear from some of these men.
We ask, it will be given. If we seek, we will find. And if we knock, it will be open. I am Christopher with the Church of Christ, Florida Prison Ministry, and this is our friend, Sean.
My name is Sean Billiam. I spent 7 years in prison. I reached the bottom of my life. I'm all up in prison, and it just reflection that there had to be something better in life than the path I was going. And I just started reading the Bible and seeing that there was a life, a better life, a more fulfilling life. There were brothers who came into prison, and their counseling and the Bible studies, that all helped me along my path to know Jesus. Well, what made my prison experience peaceful is because, like a lot of other people, I knew I had a freedom that they didn't have. On January 17th of the year 2017, I died in the waters of baptism for the remission of my sins, and I came to know Christ. There's been a complete paradigm shift in my life since before I went in till now. Before, it used to be just so focused on myself and my own pleasures, and now I know that I have something more to live for, something greater. Since I've been out of prison, there's been ups and downs. There's been struggles trying to balance your spiritual life with your work life, and just try to keep that balance where it's supposed to be and not get lost in all the distractions that'll come. I may not get it right every day, but I try to be a servant, the servant that you're called to be. If I could say encouraging words to anybody, it's just don't lose hope. Keep that hope alive in you. If you're in the darkness, there is light. And just search for that light. It's there to be found.
One of our motto is change lives, and Sean's been a participant in the program for 2 years, and he's just recently moved out.
My name is Ornell Ford. I spent 11 years in prison. I have 4 felony convictions. Initially, when I came in prison, I was scared, didn't know what to expect. Was trying to figure life out. I had this roller coaster going on, even from a young age, just doing different things that I wasn't supposed to be doing. Didn't have a stable environment, and I knew I had a son out there that I wanted to be a good example to. And I wanted to come out a better person than I came in. So I decided to do some self-reflecting, and I realized I had many flaws, character defects that I knew I needed to work on. People came in at their prison ministry. These men would drive 3 hours at the prison I was at just to come do a study with us. They was committed to come to prison, showed me that they really had the love of Christ. And we sat on one-on-one and talked about the Bible. I ended up reading Muscle and Shovel, and I was convicted and needed to get baptized. I became a Christian in 2019, got baptized in prison. The thing I would tell somebody in prison looking for a change is you're in the right spot to make that change. I believe at your darkest moment, I think that's when you can shine. That's when you gotta dig deep and pretty much seek God. Do some self-reflecting, start reading that Bible. That's very important. Now, since I've been out about almost 2 years ago, 2022, work at a steel fabrication company in Jacksonville. Just recently been promoted as one of the supervisors, Paint Bay area. So it's been a good experience. I continue to do Bible studies Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. I attend a local congregation where I'm at. So, and I'm pretty much trying to serve God. My name is Ornell Ford.
And Robert would really like to talk with you as well, so I'm going to see if we can squeeze him in real quick. Or did I miss it? Here we go.
My name is Robert. I spent 3.5 years in prison. What I was doing before wasn't working. It led me to prison. Bad choices, drugs, bad relationships. I have 2 felony convictions. My prison experience was life altering. You're surrounded by everything you were trying to leave in the real world. It's there, and you're forced to be around it every day. When you're inside, those choices are taken from you. When you go to prison, you have an option to sign for faith and character-based programs. I didn't. Mine was work. It made me institutional need, so I traveled around the state of Florida doing roofs. And in doing that, it led me to Lottie, and I wasn't required to do any of the faith and character-based program there, but I did voluntarily. I'd already started a change, but I hadn't completely gone over to a faith. I hadn't given my life up to Christ. I realized that if I went back out in the current situation that I was in, I would be right back. We have to give our life over. Something more than us. I was released on August 23rd of 2023. I go to Middleburg Church of Christ, and the family there has been very welcoming and loving. I've experienced nothing but love since my release and my incarceration. Life now is actually easier because, in a sense, I have a new life. I was reborn. So now I'm really caught up in the growth of this life and those choices. I welcome them every day. It's easier now because I have a support system. I have a family. I gave up my earthly family and I found a new family with Christ. So on my release, I had a job working at roofing and construction. I ended up having to quit that job 6 days after my release because the guys that were on the job weren't doing what was godly first, but they were also drugged, and I can't be around drugs. So I quit that job, and the Lord opened a door for me at Miller Electric. Now I'm construction wireman, and it just shows what we think we're supposed to do maybe isn't what we're supposed to do. I thought I was a roofer. Now I'm an electrician. I know that He'll provide the doors for me, but I still had to do the work. I still have to live faithfully. I still have to go to the Word, live righteous, be a beacon of hope, a light in a world of darkness. You have to still walk that path. I can't just sit here and He's going to open the door. The door will be open, but if I don't walk, it's no good as the door being open. I was baptized on July 2nd, 2023.
All right. Thank you so much for your attention.